Greetings from the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. As the Executive Director, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this workshop. As you might have been briefed before, this training program is extremely important to our region. To understand why, I will give you a brief background on the energy situation in our region. Energy intensity is a measure of how much energy we need to produce $1 in terms of our gross domestic product. To get a comparison of where we are in our region, in other words, Central America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, Jamaica and Trinidad, their energy intensity are 700 and 400 units respectively. Our Central American countries, it is around 250. The lower that number, the more competitive you are. So as you can see, we are not very competitive even in our region. This makes it very difficult for us to sell our products on the global market or to attract visitors to our region. It is for this reason that it is incumbent on us to make sure we can reduce the cost of energy. This can be done in two ways: by moving away from fossil fuel, which we have to import, to using our indigenous, reliable, renewable energy sources, such as geothermal, photovoltaic, wind, and so on. Another way of doing this is to make our systems more efficient, such as the way we use energy. In terms of the two I mentioned, it is more difficult to change or to transform from fossil fuel to renewables because of the high capital cost. However, we can start by making our buildings and so on more efficient by using, for instance, LEDs, fluorescent lighting instead of incandescent lighting, making sure that we use natural ventilation instead of air conditioning. So the purpose of this workshop is to train technicians and engineers how to go and make an audit of the systems we are using and how we can improve that. You are therefore playing a vital role because we expect at the end of this training, you will go back to your communities and start to implement what you have learned. How did we get this project off the ground? This project came about because of the initiative of a person who is not present with you at this moment, Dr. Albert Binger, the Renewable Energy Advisor at the Center. And that brings me to the point of the Center. What is the role of the Center? The Center was established by the CARICOM heads of government to address the issues of climate change and its related impacts on our region. And one of the ways of doing this is, first of all, to start with energy, because energy is the cause of the problem of climate change, and therefore we must address it if we are to move to a more sustainable economic development. Having said that, this brings me to the more positive role of the Center. The project under which this training program is taking place was developed under the United Nations Global Efficiency Facility. However, as you might have known, the GEF will only give a part of the funding required. The region and the countries are expected to provide the rest. During the early stages of development, as you know, most of our countries are faced with very serious financial and economic problems, and therefore they were not in a position to provide the necessary funding. The GEF, on the other hand, insisted that without counterpart contributions, the project could not be approved. And this is where the center came in. The center was able to provide the financial backing required for the approval of the project. So you can see the center, or the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, or 5Cs, as we are commonly called, is playing a vital role in terms of the getting this project off the ground and its implementation. Who are our collaborating partners? As I mentioned earlier, UNEP, who is the implementing agency of the GEF program in this case. We also have UNDESA, who is providing backstopping roles in terms of the execution of the project. We also have the national steering committees. The national steering committees are playing a critical role because they are the people on the ground in each of the countries. So the center, as the executing entity, is making sure that the program is properly executed. And we can only do that through collaboration and with the support of our partners, and especially the national steering committees. Having said that, that brings me to what is your role? Your role is to ensure that you make maximum benefit of this training program, because we expect that when you go back to your individual countries, you can start initiate the programs that will make us and our region one of the most efficient countries in the world, or regions in the world, in terms of the use of energy. Once we can do that, we can start bring down the relative numbers of energy intensity that will make us more competitive. And this goes across board. Most of our countries depends on tourism. Hotels are one of the areas that are very high in the use of energy because of air conditioning. And therefore, if we can demonstrate to them how they can make their systems more efficient, we can lower the cost of the hotels and therefore allow more people to come to a region that would make jobs available. And therefore you have a very important role to play. Make sure you ask questions. Make sure you understand what is being given to you. And with that, I believe at the end of the day, this training program would be a success. With those welcoming words, I hope that you will have a very successful training program during the period that you're here. Thank you very much.